I'll probably just edit all this out.
Yeah, I was gonna say edit out that Diddy party thing.
Anyone want to break in the intro?
Ain't no party like a D. Ooh, this is a crazy week in football.
What's up, YouTube? How's it going? Welcome back to another week of the Single High Podcast. We're just gonna get this going off. It's been an off couple weeks, so
Yeah.
we're just gonna crack this one off.
Plus this week, sorry guys, this is gonna be coming out a day late. Normally it's Wednesday. This will be Thursday when this releases. I was out of town for work, so I just got back. We're recording. This thing's gonna fucking get thrown out, but
Nobody.
we're not gonna half-ass it. So still gonna be quality product. Even though I'm eating a radish.
There's some good news in the works for at least one team, LA Rams, Puka Nakua, and what's his face, Cooper Kupp, are out of their casts now for their legs, and they're actually warming up and doing workouts on the side.
I saw that.
So injury wise,
Yeah.
they might be back in the next week or so.
Well, it looks like once
little
they're eligible to
improvement
come off IR, they'll probably just come off IR. So I think
Yeah.
Puka's got 2 more weeks and Cooper's got 3. So
Yeah, was Cooper? Did he even go on IR officially?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
I think so.
Yeah, he's outside the cast.
Yeah.
So hey, you might be back. Might be back on time.
Another person to watch out for. He's been trying to come back since week 2. And I know because every week I've got to worry about the stupid notification. You have guys who aren't eligible for IR, but Jordan Love. So I don't know if they bring him back against Brian Flores. I think that'd be insane because that defense is clicking right now. But yeah, definitely if you got him stashed, maybe look into that. And if you don't have him stashed and you're playing in like a shallow league, like 8-man league, he dropped 22 on us. So if he's playing against a weaker defense, he can exploit them.
I know Ingram on Jacksonville. I get notifications all the time. Questionable, doubtful. Questionable, doubtful. So Ingram's coming back soon. I think he messed up his hamstring on game 2, I think, or week 2. So
Who's he playing
maybe
for
this
again?
week, maybe the next week,
The Jaguars.
he's gonna be for the Jags.
He's the missing piece. He's why their offense isn't clicking.
Obviously. But him
Power
and then
back on the
Njoku.
spoon?
Njoku is coming back as well for the Browns. That's also the missing piece and why their
Yeah.
offense is
No-
not clicking too.
No joke.
Nick Chubb too
is a
as
big
well,
piece.
right? Soon.
Nick Chubb probably. I think they said probably like week 8. I think
Yeah, he still got
that
the
that's
day.
like the estimate right now is like week 8.
He might be back when Christian McCaffrey's back. Or
I
not
was
back.
gonna
Oh,
say-
no. He's in Germany, bro.
I was gonna say that's bad news because that's
Bad
where
news.
that means I don't think it's tendonitis.
Yeah.
I think
Nah.
it's
Yeah.
like
He broke some.
that's where
Dunzo.
that's where Aaron and Kirk I think both went for their Achilles stuff, and theirs were like full tears. So
Bet you're
Yeah.
wishing you took that trade now, huh?
It is what it is. It is what it is. Hey, if he can come back week 10, I'll take it. I just have to go 5-5 by then. But that's
Maybe
about
Derrick
it.
Henry for him right now. Even swap.
True.
that'd be insane.
Well, I think those
What,
are the
to give up
main-
Derrick Henry? I know he hasn't been doing bad this past couple weeks. He did fucking great last week.
I think those are the main injuries that I can think of off the top of my head.
He handed
I know there's
belt
injuries
to
on the defensive
ass
side.
on the fucking Cowboys. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I
there's
was still
injuries-
talking about
injuries on the
Derrick Henry.
defensive
No,
side.
he went off. Yeah, he went off.
Yeah, he did go off. But yeah, there's definitely injuries on a lot of teams for like defensive injuries, O-line injuries. Those they eventually even out because every team gets banged up, right? So
Yeah.
trying to keep track of that, it's almost impossible. But if you guys want, we can kind of dive into the games and kind
Oh.
of like.
Sorry, actually, big injuries.
Go ahead.
Holy shit, I forgot. If you have Eagles players, not named Saquon Barkley, like you might sit them. You might sit them because Mekhi Becton is sitting. Tyler Steen came into the game, and then so did Big Fred. So our all-world right tackle, Lane Johnson, concussion. Devontae Smith, concussion. We still don't know if A.J. Brown is coming back from the hamstring this injury. So the options are going to be Jahan Dotson, Johnny Wilson. Oh, and our returner, Britton Covey, is out. Might be out this week as well. Who is also like our third string receiver. or he's
Who are
fourth. He's
even
fourth.
any of those
in
guys?
NFL?
I'm just,
So yeah, no, legitimately, you're saying it as a joke, but literally, who are these guys? Johnny
well,
Wilson,
everybody knows Jahan Dotson.
Jahan Dotson, who went in like the 17th round in most drafts, and fucking, and who's our other guy?
Buddy
Paris Campbell. So I mean, yeah, unless
Hey,
your
there are
name.
some people that probably did the same thing with Alec Pearson. They're paying off right now. Some Brock
So
Purdy shit.
yeah, the only if your name's Jalen, Saquon, or Dallas, those are the only guys that you're even touching. And even then, I don't know.
Dallas Goddard's questionable still.
Yeah,
It depends on how much time he has, because he ain't the fastest route runner or runner in general.
No, it was just rest because he literally set career highs for everything because they were
Was it
running
170? Was it
Yeah,
170?
10 catches, 170 yards. I mean, they were running him ragged out there. So the motherfucker was putting in overtime, dude. But yeah, so they're
I
just
don't wanna
resting
hear
him up.
excuses. I just want
So.
results. But
Nah,
no, but yeah, a couple of people got handed belt to ass for damn sure this weekend. Surprisingly, one of those teams, unfortunately for our buddy up there, is the Raiders. The Panthers handed belt to fucking ass in that game.
I don't even know if it's belt to ass at this point. Like that was just straight up, like something worse than that. That was
that was
I don't
like,
know.
come here,
Yeah,
put
like
the leash
multiple
on,
belts.
take him for a
Yeah,
walk.
it's like you got the belt from Dalton,
No.
you got the belt from Deontay, you got the belt from Hubbard.
Chuba.
Like you got the
Hubbard
belt from
Went
everybody.
the fuck off, dude. And
Yeah,
I
bro.
called it with the fucking Panthers. I called it. I said, I have a feeling the Panthers are gonna do pretty damn well now that they have Andy Dalton behind them, because they know for a fact that motherfucker can connect the pass, and he fucking did so.
Yeah.
3 good times for good 3 touchdowns, and one of them, the first one, was to fucking Hubbard right
Yeah.
off the bat. A nice little wheel dump off, and he ran it in. I can tell you right now, Hubbard, and he was on my fucking bench because, I mean, who knew he was gonna pop that much the fuck off?
If I was gonna
He
ask
had,
like a crazy question, it would be like, how much do we think it plays a part that Andy Dalton kind of comes from this old school philosophy of quarterbacking and offensive play, that's not scared of this deep cover 2 that everybody's running, this fucking like shell coverage, two shell. You know, he's like,
No,
I'm,
He's a
hey,
veteran QB.
Yeah,
he knows how to win. I mean, like
Yeah.
I said, he led. I really feel like a lot of people don't give him as much credit as they should when he was a young quarterback in the league.
Yeah, he
I
still
really
had the
feel like
playoff
he
success.
carried. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like he
Yeah.
fucking he led that team to that success that they had.
Mhm.
Because when he left, it kind of went to shit for a good little minute.
With that success, what happens with Bryce Young now?
Oh,
Bro
he's
just
done.
sitting back like I don't know.
USFL
It's
this
a
spring.
yeah, no, it's a weird spot because there's apparently what Dave Canales came out and said was like, hey, this is just a break, but it's like if the offense starts clicking, how do you put a young quarterback back into that scenario? You can't.
Nope.
So like if
No, you
Andy
can't.
Permanent break.
even if Andy Dalton just has a couple of, and from a team standpoint, that doesn't do you any better either, because like Andy Dalton's not your franchise. Bryce Young was supposed to be the franchise. So if you put Andy Dalton in and things start clicking, I don't think he's going to click enough for you to win 10, 11 games, but he's going to do you well enough to not get into playoffs, but also completely fuck up your drafting.
Yeah,
your,
my
your
thing
draft
is,
sequence. So
yeah, I could get what you're saying. But they did really good this game. Chuba Hubbard, 21 carries for 114 yards. He went 5 for 5 on receptions for 55 yards with a touchdown, and a reception that was in between 20 to 29 yards.
Yeah.
5 for 5 for 55 yards. That's really 5.5 yards per catch.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good. Even somebody who saw a little bit of action as well too was what's his name? Leggett.
yeah, Xavier
Xavier
Leggett.
Leggett.
I mean,
He
Andy Dalton
went
passed
2
the
for
ball
3,
around.
42 yards, 1 reception for 30 to 39 yards.
Yeah.
Yeah, but like you said, and Deontay Johnson, he fucking had a game as well too.
Yeah, very
So I called it like I said last week. If you have some of those Panthers players and you're in a little bit of a desperate flex, play them. You know what I mean? I fucked up and went with Romeo Dobbs over Chuba Hubbard like a jackass. I don't know why the fuck I did that at the last second. And I got my ass handed to me at the end of it because of it. And I even had the Green Bay Packers defense on the fucking bench for 26 points. So I missed out on like I saw like almost 60 points this
Yeah.
week.
I guess kind of
Yeah,
inverse
yeah,
of that. I mean, we see it a lot. Like the Panthers were ahead for a lot of that
I
game.
honestly just thought the Niners were going to come back with a goddamn vengeance this week because of what happened last week. I thought they were going to come in and just fucking go belt to ass on the Rams like they normally do.
Well, I mean, you guys have historically
we need a little
kind of
tune-up
split.
game. That's what I felt.
Yeah.
And no, the Niner game, it was just people drop passes. Surprisingly, and I swear to God, I was like, I really thought hell was gonna fucking freeze over. You can ask my brother. I even sent him the fucking video clip of it, and it was Nick Wright giving praise to Brock Purdy, saying like, you know what? He played himself a fucking game. He goes, and it was unfortunate his receivers couldn't bring in those passes because it would have been a totally different game otherwise. He goes, I don't think, Brock Purdy would have, had the numbers. But he was giving him his praises for the most part, saying like, you look like a good quarterback out there,
Yeah.
And for the longest time, he shits on him. So to hear it from Nick Wright, you're just like, all right, he's really
Yeah.
starting to get the nods he needs. You know what I mean? And he had 130 passer rating, even considering the loss and how bad it got with the receivers dropping passes. And what surprises me too is like his resilience to do what he did, extending the play for as long as he did on a couple of those plays in the back end,
Yeah.
and then even rushing for a first down on one of them, like just taking a shot, taking that dive.
I will say I would have tempered expectations. Christian McCaffrey's out. Jordan Mason's done well in his stead, in his place, but obviously
But Juwan
you're
Jennings,
never gonna replace Christian McCaffrey. Juwan
Yes.
Jennings has shown flashes of this since the last 2 seasons, but this is the first time we've seen him elevated to the wide receiver 1 spot. Brandon Ayuk obviously
And-
still getting over his hangover, his contract hangover.
5 for 10, dude. 5 for fucking 10. No touchdowns.
Yeah, Debo obviously out this game. Surprisingly, Kittle, George Kittle had a quiet game. But yeah, I mean,
He
like
didn't play, I think.
both
Yeah, I was
teams.
about to say, I think he was out.
Oh, okay,
He
that's
played.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean
I was
both.
gonna say George
both-
Kittle was out as well, wasn't he?
Yeah, so
Yeah.
both
Yeah.
both teams sufficiently depleted. I mean, obviously the Rams are in what like
And
the
Puka Nakua or Cooper Cup.
yeah the Rams
Kyron Williams had himself
Yeah.
a game
the,
because he
the
got
Rams
a lot
are
of
like in the
touches.
Eagles scenario right now. Like they both teams are like, okay, we're without 1 or 2. So who's gonna step up? Luckily, Puka Nakua is essentially a new ad because he basically came up last year. The Rams have essentially played without Cooper Kupp the last 2 years. I mean, they've had him on loan for like 6 games, and then he just goes on IR the rest of the season. So luckily, a lot of these guys that we're seeing step up and be the next man up were the next man up already. So I think that's why I wasn't too worried about the Los Angeles Rams offense heading into this game. And obviously, you have a healthy Kyron Williams. So it was a good game. It was a good game.
It was a good game. It was a shitty game.
When you put it like that, though, there really is a lot of similarity between the Rams, 49ers, the Eagles, right? I
And-
think there's another
yeah.
team, too, that's just, like, stripped away of their, you could say, key players, and they have to really rely on just the people that can back them up, or the fill-ins. I can't think of the other team.
Yeah.
But I know it was, like, Cincinnati for a second there with Jamar, just not,
Well,
Having
Jamar
him
was the
out
only one.
there, and then now he still has
Yeah.
the hangover too.
Yeah,
Big-
but
big
I think there was
surprise.
another team like this.
Big surprise that the one game that Jamar finally breaks out, T. Higgins is on the other side of the line.
Yep.
So I mean, like that, I kind of expected that. So that's I think I even mentioned you like in trade requests. There was a lot of trades coming in for Jamar after obviously he has 2, by all means for a guy drafted that high, bad games. And it was like, hey, look, I want to wait till his performance with T. Higgins on the lineup with him, and lo and behold, here he is. He drops an insane stat line. So Chuba Hubbard, great game script. They got out early ahead of the Raiders, so they were able to set up this big lead. And it was like, all right, feed it to Chuba. Somebody right now who I'm buying low on because he hasn't had 2 great weeks, and this last week was really bad. Tony Pollard, because he had the
Tony
inverse. He had a negative game script. Like they're playing from behind, they're having to pass. I would treat those 2 guys very similarly, Chuba Hubbard and Tony Pollard, because they're both parts of offenses in which number one we have a small sample size, or B we really don't know what we're gonna get, and we could end up seeing if Will Levis does eventually get benched, a similar situation to what happened with Chuba Hubbard and even Miles Sanders. Like, even Miles Sanders, granted he had a touchdown, but he had an 11-point, 12-point game, which is like his best game, one of his best scores in the last 2 years. So, like, since he left Philadelphia, that's one of his best games. So
who do they have behind Will Levis, though? Is it Joe Flacco or something, or what?
that's a good question. Let's see. Who's the...
Because you're saying that he could benefit from a changeup like that, but that's only if he has someone that like passes and knows how to get leads. Mason Rudolph, he's okay, he's serviceable.
I trust Mason Rudolph more than I do Will Levis, because Will Levis will lose you a game.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of generational runs, Will Levis. Will Levis is on a generational run.
Oh yeah, the memes.
And then now there's one where it's just nuts on head, nuts on helmet. Holy shit! Or he's like airborne 2 yards behind the line on 4th and 2. Holy shit, dude! Yeah, it's just every week this guy just has the craziest fucking play. But yeah.
I think for Tennessee in general, their passing game should be getting a little bit better now that Hopkins is being brought back into the offense a little bit. I think he's still banged up. I think his snap shares are in like 40% or 50%.
Yeah.
So it's still relatively low to where he was last year. So that should increase over time. I expect probably like around week 5, 6. He'll probably get back to normal, hopefully. Just because he's dealing with the MCL sprain, but he had a decent game.
Yeah.
They completely abandoned throwing to Calvin Ridley, and then they just chucked it Hopkins' way.
Yeah. I was gonna say different team, same guy. You talk about a Gabe Davis guy. Like, Calvin Ridley has done this now 2 years in a row. You remember 2 years last season? Calvin Ridley had like 2 20-point games in the first 5 weeks, and then just would randomly string together these single-digit low-point performances. So it's just I see it happening all over again. And if I'm a person who has one of them, to me, Calvin Ridley, I'm out. I'm out. DeAndre Hopkins, I have a little bit more faith in that his numbers will his floor will be higher. So he's gonna at least be a little bit more consistent. So
I don't even have that faith.
Rudy's like, I'm out of the Tennessee offense. I want no part of it.
Yeah, like I said, I think if there's anybody that I'm gonna like try to.
The only one I have faith in on that team right now is fucking Pollard.
Tony Pollard. Tony Pollard. I have faith in him. I'm buying low. Low.
Are they a 0-3 team right now?
They are, and they could
Tennessee.
They could actually
remember that's one of the teams we were talking about that are playing like the Cardinals. Like, they're playing their ass off. It's just they're losing.
What happens is there comes one point in the game, and then Will Levis literally throws the game away. Literally.
That's what I had actually said earlier too, and I was like, but a combination of like just that coming short, and then Will Levis making like rookie mistakes that he didn't really get much of a chance to make last season when he was a rookie. Because remember, he didn't play until halfway through the season or something like that, right?
I think the problem is this. He did make these mistakes last year. He did make the crazy plays like this last year, where he's just tossing the ball deep and the free safety is just like catching a punt return. But he's just arm punting. But what we attributed it to is like, look, it's halfway through the season. He took over as the starter halfway through the year. Let's cut him some slack. He's a rookie. And now we're getting into a year of like after OTAs, after a full season, now he's the full-time starter, and he's still making these mistakes. And we're like, maybe that's just who he is, Son of a bitch.
Do you think that he saw a lot of Derek Carr just tuck it down there, thinking like, oh, throw it down there, Rashid somewhere down there? But Will Levis is doing that with Calvin Ridley, and it's just not working.
Yeah, he's like,
I saw Carr do it.
It's like the guy that the
Jaguars
didn't
put it
want.
in the guy's hands who everybody expects him to put it in, and the other guy's just not getting it done.
Yeah.
But I think for the 0-3 teams, though, you had the Tennessee, but the one that can definitely make a comeback, even though I know statistically they probably won't. But if you're going to bet on any team, it's the Bengals. Yeah, right? Yeah. They are 0-3 right now. They had a great game to watch, honestly. Just, what was it, on Monday?
Yeah.
Between them and Washington. And both sides, Bengals, Washington did great. But Bengals, honestly, with T. Higgins back, Jamar Chase, there. Of course, Jamar Chase doing Jamar Chase things now. Burrow actually looking in form, no wrist injury or anything that can be impeding him. It was a great game.
Zach Moss had a good
They
game.
just came up short. They just came up short. No,
I was
no
gonna say
defense.
Zach
There was
Moss
no
kind of did
defense.
his thing.
Yeah.
Not a defensive game. That was all
No.
straight. Who can out offense the other?
Straight gas. Under Zach Taylor, the Bengals have under Zach Taylor and with Joe Burrow at the helm, the Bengals have historically been a slow starting team. We've seen a lot of 0-2 starts from them, and we've seen a lot of deep playoff runs from them. So I do, like you said, I still have a lot of faith that they'll kind of right the ship. But at the end of the day, they're sitting at 0-3. Like that best record if they win out from here is 14-3, which is close to impossible.
One team that might have got the tune-up game they needed and maybe started flipping the script and getting something going for themselves was the Baltimore Ravens.
Yeah.
They played pretty damn good against the Cowboys. I mean, they literally
They're
handed
all
ball to ass until it got to a point where Dak Prescott got his garbage time comebacks.
Well, and that's another thing. I would still be a little scared if I'm a Ravens fan, or if I'm holding those players because.
So I said maybe because we're getting to the point where Dallas doesn't look suspect; they just look like ass now.
Yeah.
Because they've been playing like ass. They've been getting their ass blown the fuck out. You know, like this time they had a little bit of fight in them, but even then it was like little too far too late or something like that. You know what I mean?
What we've seen in the last 2 weeks now, back-to-back weeks, is the Ravens get ahead and then coast. And then go, all right, guys, go ahead and catch up. And it bit them in the ass in week 2 against the Raiders, and it almost bit them in the ass again in week 3. And in week 1, I mean, they just played a good Chiefs team. They just played a good Chiefs team, and they were this far
maybe
from
this
winning.
game gets a little bit of oomph into Derrick Henry to keep playing like he did because he had himself an outstanding game as well too.
Yeah.
Actually, I had him playing this weekend. He's the only reason why I stayed in the fight as long as I did.
Yeah. No. Offense is clicking.
He had 25 carries for 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, 1 for 1 on receptions, 23 yards.
Nice. Tight ends are still living in hell. Isaiah Likely and Mark Mike, have you seen this man?
Kincaid had a little bit of life this week on Monday.
Do you think, just in general, Dallas right now, their defense is
Have you
just
seen
not
this
so
man?
far? Dude, he's gone.
I'm looking
Senzo.
for this man.
Cook. Nope.
Holy shit.
He doesn't exist at this point. But
I'm glad
think
I did
Dallas,
not make that trade with Mark Andrews.
Yep. I think Dallas, if anything, right now their defense is just not doing well.
Yeah.
I just checked it. When they played Cleveland Browns week 1, Cleveland put up 33 on them, right? Or sorry, put up 17. That's the one game that they did win,
Yeah.
right? So Cleveland Brown able to put up points. They got blew out by New Orleans Saints. Same thing with Ravens until the late comeback. So
But
really,
with the
the only thing that
Saints-
they did well against was Cleveland Brown's offense so far, which their offense is not really an offense yet,
Yeah.
especially with Deshaun Watson just playing how he has.
Yeah.
So
But I
don't
will
know.
say this, like that goes to another subject, the New Orleans Saints. I don't think they're pretenders anymore. They put up a hell of a fight against the fucking Eagles, so you can't really take that loss into too much of a calculation.
Fuck that game. Fuck.
But I think
Alright.
the defense coming into the season for Dallas, it was ranked really high.
Yeah.
It was like a
Yeah.
top 5 defense.
Yeah.
But we're finding
That's
out
what
that
I'm
their
saying,
defense
like-
is not there.
Yeah, so like the Cowboys, you can kind of hit them on the whole loss for the New Orleans Saints. They shouldn't have lost that bad if they were going to lose. But the Saints are looking like a pretty fucking solid team. Alvin Kamara is getting his fucking reps in before he's got to answer for his crimes. So,
The problem with the Cowboys, I think, is they're just not playing complementary football on either side.
problem is they got Ezekiel Elliott again. He's not good.
No, the
anymore.
offense has to help the defense, and the defense has to help the offense, and they're not working in tandem at all. I mean, they're built to play with the lead. The Saints turned it into a track meet. Like a lot of Alvin Kamara's plays were off of either screens. Like they made him look like fucking Christian McCaffrey out there, dude. Like I mean, this guy
To be fair though, Alvin Kamara has always been a hell of a fucking player.
always been a hell of a player, but at the same time, he is getting
For
older.
the longest time, he was the number 1 running back, even
So,
over Christian McCaffrey.
It's just insane to see this guy come out, and like by all means, I fully expected us to get run over, and is like holy shit! Especially after seeing what they did to the Cowboys, and now I'm looking at it like, are the Cowboys just bad? Like, you know, like holy shit!
That's what I'm saying. Like,
The worst part is I still have to watch the Birds drop a game to them sometime this year because it just happens. It just happens. It's the same thing with the
no, the worst
with
part
the
is we
Commanders.
gotta watch them. The worst part is we gotta watch them play the Giants on Thursday, and there's a solid fucking chance the Giants might win.
So if
There's
they
a
do
pretty
win,
solid fucking chance the Giants might win. I mean,
if they do win,
I'm
is Dallas
pulling up
kinda
the
cooked for
game
year?
right now.
Is Dallas cooked for the year if the Giants win? Like, do you think their playoff chances are even close?
They are very suspect as fuck. Like,
Well, I think what this is what we're getting Thursday night is we're getting a case of a team that's been severely underrated because of bad performance historically over the last decade, and a team that's been overrated for much of the last 30 years because of a string of Super Bowl runs that they had. And so now what we're seeing is all this coming to a head where Malik Neighbors, Wando Robinson, and even Devin Singletary, like Daniel Jones isn't looking bad. Like that offense is actually clicking at a decent frequency. And now
I have a feeling that is because Daniel Jones, like I said, maybe he knew. Neighbors is the guy. Maybe he just needed to give a little fair share feed time to some guys to show, like, can't get it done with them. And he just started connecting with Neighbors and putting it in the zone. You know what I mean?
Well, Neighbors has been performing since week one. They just week one they played against staunch Vikings defense. So
yeah,
you know,
and then the Commanders who don't look half bad this game at all either. So you know what I mean? Like,
I think Anthony's right. I think the Cowboys. I think we start looking at them. You know, the rose tinted glasses come off. I think after this game, especially if we see. Yeah. A good two score blow. Like I would consider anything past a single score game a blowout in this instance, especially because we've seen the Cowboys have single score losses, but like Rudy said, we get stat pad Scott in the fourth quarter. So it's like, is it really a single digit game or single score game? But
yeah, and I think
you know what I mean.
Or today when this airs, it'll be an interesting game.
Yep.
And overall, if they do pretty bad, or like you said, you know, it's not like they're not beating up New York Giants as we thought. Yeah, it's panic meter for that team, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that'll be probably the game to watch, I would say, this week. There's other games, but that one I think a lot of people are very interested in, just to see how they do for this season.
Let's
all right, you guys.
Yeah.
It's been an awesome week. We saw a lot of cool football happen, and we saw a lot of injuries, a lot of upsets. Just in general, we're going to be looking at this week in a very close lens.
Yeah.
See if there's any teams on fraud watch, teams that, know, can make that comeback, like Cincinnati or Dallas, and see how they improve. But until then, we'll see you then and talk more football coming to the next week.
Let's go.
Sounds good.
Do it.